So I want to show you a way to make a container that's hand built. Probably going to be a smaller container because you're going to start out with a solid block of clay. I just cut this from my bag of clay, and I shaped it into this rectangle that's sort of soft, has soft edges. And then I also went and I wanted some texture in there, so I hit it against a brick so that it has this light pebbly texture to it. So this is going to be the top. These are the sides. First thing that I start doing is I want to draw my opening, and I'm going to give myself not quite a 1/2 inch opening. Little, so if I'm looking from the edge here, this space is a little under a 1/2 inch. And what I'm going to start doing, I'm going to put this down to do that. I'm going to take my my carving tool, my trim tool, and I'm going to start carving into this. Now I shaped this block and then I let it sit overnight unwrapped. So the form is stiff on the outside. It's not going to wiggle on me as I start to get narrower or thinner walls. So this might take a little bit of time, but what I want you to do is just to keep carving straight down and try to keep those walls. Think about how you always want to have even walls. So my walls are starting to go out as they go down. That means I'll have to undercut and dig out just a little bit more clay. And as I'm getting to the center, my clay is getting, you can feel it's getting a little easier to carve. Oops, sorry about that. It's getting a little easier to carve, so that means that it is wetter down in there. And look at all of your trimming tools that you have and see which ones are going to work best. I have this big one. It just barely fits. I don't think it will fit. But ask yourself when you start doing this, look at all of your tools and see which ones might best suit hollowing out a shape like this. All right, so getting a little lower. I like, I'm using this rectangle end. There's a rounded side. Could use that too. That's going to scoop out a good bit of material, but it's not going to give me very, what am I looking for? It's not going to give me very straight walls. They might have some ridges on them, which is not a big deal. Now we don't want to go all the way through the bottom, so do watch what you're doing. Don't talk too much. Don't get too involved with the podcast as you're doing this. And like I said, my pot, it goes out. So I want to make sure I'm creating that undercut and that the wall is going out. Well, that's a little stiff. Okay, I'm getting closer to the bottom, and I can feel my clay is getting stiffer again. Okay, so close to the bottom. Let me feel that. Just like when you do a pinch pot, how you should be feeling the walls to see the thickness, do the same thing with this. Ask yourself where it's thicker, where it's thinner. Now you can see in here, I've got sort of all those striations. I'm going to use the flat side of my tool to try to smooth that out a bit. See if I can get that a little cleaner. And I can always go back in with a metal rib too if I can fit it in there, and a finger to smooth that stuff out. So I'll keep going into this and I'll clean that out a little bit better, make sure I have a nice undercut. But now I want a lid on here. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to be very careful about this, I might even use a tool to help me measure a little bit. I am going to make this opening wider, but I'm not going all the way down. I'm only going to go down part way. So I'm kind of making like a gallery, a ledge for a lid to sit on. So You can see I've traced my line there. So now I'm going to go down with my tool. I'm going to push it down. I'm going to try to hold it as level as I can. Use even pressure. Go back with my tool, take that off. Clean the sidewall up because I want you to be able to see how this creates a little ledge right here, right? So go back, do that on this side. And this is if you've been doing any pinch pots, you know, that'll be good training for this type of project, feeling your walls and having sensitivity to the clay. All right. And I will go back and I will clean these edges up a little bit still, but I want to move on and show you the next step. So we need a lid. One of the things that I did when I made my solid block of clay, because I knew I was making this container, I rolled out a slab and I put that same texture on there. So this is going to be my lid. What I want to do is get a marker, like a Sharpie, and a piece of plastic. And I'm just going to use my Sharpie to mark where that inner ledge is. So, whoops. So I don't know if you can see this. I'm going definitely not with my hand in front. So everywhere it's blue here, that is, I was tracing this portion down here, this ledge, not this top part. Okay, now I can go back and I can put this, some of this stuff, can put this on top of my slab that I made. And my slab I did, because I didn't want it completely flat, I did push my finger in the middle so it sort of has a slight dome to it. It's not going to be completely flat. Okay, so now I'm going to take this and I can just take my pencil and trace over the top of this. So I'm pushing down hard enough that I'm getting that indentation in my slab. Okay, so I can see that on there. Oops, dropped my paddle. And now I'm going to go back with my knife and I'll go ahead and cut this out. Now this is, I mean, these straight lines are, excuse me, pretty harsh. They're not as rounded as my lid top. Okay, it looks like I'm a little big. I'm going to go back and just shave a little bit off. I don't want to take too much off. Let's check that again. Okay, still a little tight. Normally I have a fine point Sharpie. I just grabbed the big fat one. Okay, there. Now that's gonna fit in there. If I carve a little bit deeper in this ledge, this should sit in there really nicely. Now, this would be hard to get out, so I would want to do something like make a little knob on there, or maybe make a hole in the lid so I could attach a button or something. But you could score and slip and put something on top of there. I think I will take this little knob and I'll actually press it in the brick that I used to put the texture so I have more texture. But score and slip that and then bam, you've got yourself a cool lidded container. It can be any organic shape you like. So don't forget, go back in here, clean this out, and feel it for weight. You know, if it feels heavy, remove a little bit more clay from that inside. This is a good exercise, similar to pinch pots, to get you to feel the weight of a piece. All right, go ahead, give it a try.